Sarah, welcome to you. You're going to disappoint an awful lot of people who've been pushing this greedflation story. You don't think there's any evidence of it in grocery retail?
So what we've been looking at really is to understand how well competition is working in the groceries market. It's obviously incredibly important at the moment. We all know that households are feeling the pressure of high food and grocery prices. We want to make sure that competition in this market is working as effectively as possible. We also want to make sure that people can shop around and compare prices and get the best deals possible. So it's a complicated market. There are a number of different product categories. And of course, it's not just about competition at the retail level. It's about competition up the supply chain too. What we focused on in this phase is understanding how well competition is working between retailers. And what we've seen is that there's no evidence that weak competition between retailers is driving those high food and grocery prices that we're all experiencing at the moment. We've seen evidence of low and falling margins on groceries. We've seen evidence of retailers competing for market share, competing on prices, seeking to win share. Really important, I think, in this market is to highlight the role of the discounters, Aldi and Lidl, who compete very aggressively on price. They're winning market share from the major supermarkets, and we see people turning to them increasingly to get a good deal.
What's interesting, though, is that you're now widening the investigations to look at the broader supply chain. I mean, the implication there is that some of these big food and drink suppliers, the likes of Nestle, for example, may well be benefiting from higher prices.
So, as I say, it's important that we understand that competition is working well across the market. Now, it would obviously be an enormous exercise to investigate every single aspect of this market. What we want to do in the next phase of our work is to drill down into a selection of particular product categories, looking at retail competition at that level. And it's important, of course, to emphasise that the discounters, Aldi and Lidl, are not present across the full range of product categories that we know the major supermarkets are. So we want to explore retail competition on some of these individual product categories, but also look across the chain, make sure that competition is working well when we come to the product manufacturers and the input providers as well.
Now, another thing you've been quite clear on today is that you want more consistency over unit pricing. What sort of enforcement powers do you have here?
Yeah, so this is really important. If you think about unit prices, this should be a really important way for shoppers to be able to compare product prices really easily, particularly when we're thinking about products that come in different sizes. You can buy sort of multi-packs and that sort of thing. So there are rules on unit prices. Retailers are required to provide clear unit prices. Unfortunately, our investigation so far has shown that those rules are not as clear as they could be. So we're making recommendations today to government urgently to bring forward improvements to those rules. But we've also seen evidence that the retailers are not complying with those rules. So at the same time as asking government to improve the rules, we're calling on retailers now to step up their game in this space to make sure that they are complying fully with the rules on unit pricing. This is really important, particularly in relation to promotional pricing, because obviously at the moment people are desperately trying to get the best deal possible. We want to make sure that shoppers can get really good and clear access to information about how to compare prices.
Now, one thing also that you say in the report, which caught my eye, you said there are some signs grocery retailers are planning to start rebuilding their margins. What sort of evidence do you have for that?
So we understand directly from the retailers that their intention is to seek to rebuild margins. Now, of course, that's off low levels at the moment, but it is an area which we want to keep a very close eye on, because it's going to be absolutely critical that that competitive pressure remains. And particularly as we look forward over the next few months, we expect to see those input prices starting to fall. We want to make sure that that competitive pressure is driving through the benefit of those cost reductions and that we see that coming through in the prices for shoppers.
Now, while we have you, it's obviously a very busy time for you. You initially moved to block Microsoft's taken of Activision Blizzard. It now looks as though you've compromised with the parties involved here. Some people are accusing you of having caved into pressure from Microsoft. What do you say to them?
I say we certainly haven't compromised. Our decision to prohibit the deal stands. We understand from Microsoft that they would like to put forward proposals to us to restructure the deal, potentially re-notifying that deal to address our competition concerns. If they do that, we will consider those restructured proposals carefully. But anything that they put forward to us will need to fully and comprehensively resolve our concerns. Our position on that hasn't changed.
And what's the timescale here, Sarah? When do you expect Microsoft to come up with some sort of revision to their proposals?
So we're waiting for those proposals to come to us. We've agreed with Microsoft a stay on the litigation, which means that we can focus on understanding whether it is possible for them to provide a restructure that addresses our concerns. The ball is very much in their court at the moment.
All right, Sarah, we have to leave it there. Appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.